Well, what is up, everyone? I've got a spicy video for you today. I'm excited. So, as you know, I have all these market info. I have all the data from all the sets from 4 or 5 months. One of the questions I've heard a ton of people asking is, what is the price of cards going to be on release of Monarch? If boxes are sitting at $500, what can we expect the price to be? And I've heard people talking about it, but I haven't heard anybody really giving clear evidence for things. And so I have access to all this information. And actually, if you're a patron at the $15 tier, you also have access to all this information. So you could do little cool things like I'm doing. You can just kind of copy the information that you have. The $15 tier patrons have access to actually all the historical data and not just the collection tracker that everybody else has access to. So let's take a look at this data. So here's what I've done. So just so you know, what I've done is taken the historical data that I have in these collection trackers that I've gathered for the last 4 months, since really around Christmas time is when I started this whole thing. So I've taken all that data and brought it into one sheet for you so that you can kind of see what I was doing. I didn't have to do this, but I wanted to bring it in so you could kind of see. This is all the data. This is the box prices for all 3 sets. This is all first edition. This is the box prices and then kind of where the Fabled was, where the Legendary was. This is the averages, where the average cold foil, the average cold foil majestic, and I've broken it all down. So that's for all the sets. So, just to kind of show you the data, if a box of Arcane Rising, when it was selling for $1,500, the Eye was selling for $10,000. The legendaries were selling for an average of $1,300. The cold foil commons are selling for an average of $168. You get the point. So then what I've done is I've taken all this data, right? And I wanted to test the averages. I wanted to test taking the average value of all these cards and put them up against the box prices so that we can kind of gather, where we'll get to this exposit is we can gather when a box is this price, this is what we can go. So this is the calculation from all this data here, right? Like months worth of data. I hope you guys, this is the type of video I think you guys like on my channel. So let me know in the comments if you like it. Anyway, I'll do more of these. So this is the calculation that kind of I went with. And I want to be really transparent in how I calculated this out because this video is kind of important, I think. So the average of all the box prices. Okay, we are practicing averages here. The average of all the box prices was $2,401.98. So that took all the box prices, all the Crucible, all the Arcane, and all the Welcome to Raid. So the idea is here we're getting a complete picture on average, what are the values going to be, all right? And then we took all the averages of all the Fabled price, the average of every Fabled price week to week, the average, same thing, same amount of numbers, same everything. The average Fabled price is sitting at just above just under 14,000. The average legendaries, you get the picture. So here's where things get kind of hairy though. Crucible only has cold foil rares. Some people might think that there's cold foil commons in Crucible, but there are not. So Crucible only has cold foil rares. And Arcane and WTR only have cold foil commons. So what I've done is taken the average of a cold foil common or rare. Okay, keep with me though, because I also did the opposite down here. Keep with me. So that's this price. The average of all the cold foil commons, the average of all the cold foil rares is 201. Then I took the average of the cold foil majestics, right? You only had those from Crucible. And then I took the average for the rainbow foil majestic and the non-foil majestic. So then what I did is I took the average box price. I know this is a lot. I got to set it up for you. I took the average box price of just WTR and Arcane Rising. And then I just took just the average cold foil common. And then I took the average box price of Crew. And then I did the average cold foil rare and then the average cold foil majestic. So then I compared everything. So I took all these numbers and I compared them to the average box price. So the Fabled on average for everything is 580% of the average box price. Historically, over the last 4 or 5 months that I've been gathering this data from Facebook, TCG Player, eBay, Discord, everything that goes into my collection tracker as part of the Patreon, right? On average, the Fabled price is 580% what the box is selling for, okay? The Legendary, on average, is 80% of what the boxes are selling for. The cold foil common or rare, if you take them together, on average is 8% of what the box is. But if you break that down, the average cold foil common is selling for 7% of the WTR ARC boxes, and the average cold foil rare is selling for 17% of the average crew boxes. All right, stay with me, everybody. The average cold foil majestic is, so this is where it gets really hairy, right? Like the average cold foil majestic is only selling for 18% of the average box price. That being said, if you compare it to just crew, which is the only time that the cold foil majestics were there, it is 50% of the box prices. All right, so I think I've set up all the data, so let's get into it. So this is the exposit, and I thought it'd be fun to pretend like we were getting boxes at $125. So I took all these, percentages that we got from this calculation, right? And I plugged them in to this exposit. So, and then I compared them to the box price of $100. So $125, if a box was selling for $125, on average, we would be seeing a fabled price of around $725. That goes down to the legendary at 101, the cold foil common or rare. So you get the picture here. So let's pretend that right now kind of boxes today are selling at the $500 range. I'm actually going to go ahead and zoom in for you on this so you can see a little bit bigger. I think I can do that. So let's pretend right now is going to be where we're at. And this is, I kind of highlighted these because this seems to be where we're going to end up, is between 500 and 700, I think, on release day. So these are the prices that I think you can expect to see a fabled and a legendary. So I think if you're seeing a $500 box, which right now it is, I think maybe we're at $650, but right now if you're at $500, at release, we would see just over or just around a $3,000 fable. That would be the average, taking the average and comparing it to all the boxes that we've seen in the last 4 or 5 months. The legendary then, on average, at 80% of what the box would be sitting at $403. This puts so this is where it gets hairy with the cold foil commons. And keep in mind, I've said that I will buy cold foil commons for $75. So right now, like, I'm losing money on cold foil commons if you look at the averages. Now, that being said, okay, I want to say this. If you look at the average of the cold foil, remember, cold foil commons for a long time were really undervalued. They were really, really, really low. So that average is built into this. And so that's something interesting to keep in mind. But that puts your average at $42 compared to the $50 box price. Let me double check that. That puts you average at $42 based on the box price. Now, if you don't believe that, right, if you say no, you need to just be looking at the cold foil commons without crew, that would be putting your average cold foil common at $37. If you say no, you have to take the cold foil rare price. That is the average. Then you'd be sitting at $85 each, and Louis looking good at his $75 target. And this is where things get right. Like if you take the average cold foil majestic, this is the one that was comparing it to the to all the boxes at this 18%. Then you're sitting at $92. But really, the cold foil majestics were only in crew, so I think that's the only one that you can really use. So that will put a cold foil majestic sitting at around $293 if the box price is at $50. The rainbow foil majestics would be sitting at $69 at $500, and the non-foil majestics at $12 each. So this is assuming a $500 price tag. So now, you can bump this up. You can do your own look, and maybe we're going to see a release price more at like $750, right? Well, that would pump the fabled price on average would be up to more close to around the $4,400 mark, $40,357. The legendary price would be sitting at $604. The cold foil common and rare price, again, still low at $63. I think really though, what you'd want to do is take the average of the cold foil common in only without crew, and then compare that to the average of the cold foil rare crew only. So like, here's the difference. So this is the number. So like, if you take, so let's say equals the average of, oops, I can't see anything. Get out of here. Equals the average of, let's see, what did I say? Cold foil rare from crew only, and the average from the cold foil common from no crew. That's where things get a little bit hairier. Like this would be, so this is where it's really cool, right? Like if you take this number, so this is $60 as opposed to $42. And this is where I think really is probably the better. Let's just take this and slide over. This would line up really more of my thought was that a cold foil common would be at 76. I know I'm just trying to find what I want here, but this would be like, cold foil rares and cold foil commons, if you consider them the same like card, right? Because they're, I don't think we're going to see cold foil rares and commons. So you consider them the same and then compare them to the boxes that they were only in. And that's where you would get this average of like a $60 if it's 500. If it's 650, it would be $78. If it's 700, it would be 84. That's probably more where I would land on the honestly, but it's harder to share that knowledge with you. So this is where things really get, like, if you want to kind of consider where we might be at the end of the year, right? Like, I'm really considering $2,000 boxes of Monarch by like this time next year, maybe like, you know, we sit at $1,200 this at the end of the year, and then we kind of gradually go up to $2,000 kind of in April of next year. So if we're setting at end of year targets here, I could definitely see box prices hitting the $1,200 mark, and that would put your Fable at $7,000. So if you're like an investor, right? Like if you're thinking like a Fable, this is where it gets exponential growth here. And I guess it's not technically exponential growth, but like really start making more financial money. If you can sink in, you know, $3,000 to pick up the Fable, you'd be making yourself a good $4,000 in less than a year, which is pretty dang good, honestly. So yeah, I think I can see like a legendary fetching $1,000 by the end of the year. Again, I'm just trying to share with you guys some of the facts, some of the data. I think this information is kind of cool to have. I'm kind of the content creator that has all this information because I do it for that, you know, for part of my stuff. But yeah, I think that this is really interesting. I really think it's fun. Let me know in the comment section, where do you think this is going to land up? Do you think these numbers are relatively like sound? You know, did I mess up something? I don't know. This is simply taking averages. Is there an average theory that I'm not seeing that's like a negative? This is why I'm confident at the like $75. I've honestly not wanted to touch any thought of like, what did the Fable be? Because like it's scary to think like a Fable on release. Like back when I started Crucible, when I started opening boxes, this was, you know, boxes were sitting at 120, and you could get you could get the shard for like $800. So like that was all accurate, but like I never even really thought about it this high, because I wasn't opening boxes at $700 a box. So very interesting. I can't wait to open up my 40 boxes, and we'll kind of track the prices maybe based on this document. Maybe that'd be a good idea to see where we break even on the money. Oh man, what a day. What a crazy mess. Anyway, I hope you're having a great day. Let me know what you think in the comments section of my targeted kind of pricing for a set that's not even out. If I was doing pre-orders and like pre-selling cards, this is probably how I would do it. I don't do that, and I'm not going to be doing that, but it's fun to play around with stuff. You know, and it's just fun. Anyway, hope you have a great day. Remember to be kind to the people around you. And if you're looking for, you know, all this information, if you want to play around with it yourself, if you're a $15 tier at the Patreon, take that data and play around with it and send me what you come up with, because I would love to see what you have. So remember to be kind to the people around you. We'll talk to you guys very, very, very soon.